Good morning, everybody. We got a lot of early morning listeners.
Yeah. I think a lot of people probably. I don't know. I listen to podcasts just anytime I'm in the truck, or on the tractor. So
that's how I am.
It is liable to be any time of day. But yeah, we'll say good morning. Yeah, been hot enough for you?
Man, it's been terrible. I actually,
but it's not the heat.
It's the humidity.
That's right.
Did you see the latest McFarland's?
Yeah, I did.
Man, I love that page on Instagram. It is like probably my favorite page.
I pulled it's the humidity on probably 10 or 15 people today, because that's been the theme everywhere you go is
how
hot it is.
Yeah, it has been terrible. I actually sprayed a trial for Helena today of a fungicide. And it's just a 20-acre trial. And, I mean, I put Freon. I charged the air in my sprayer today because when I was finishing spraying, it was very unpleasant in the sprayer. Man, I charged the thing today. I had it shooting snowballs while I was spraying. It felt awesome. But the amount of time it took me to I only put 300 gallons in for 20 acres. And just in that amount of time, I was like wringing wet with sweat.
You talking about doing those trials? I saw one of the last things I read right before I came over here. There's a new record soybean.
That's actually what I'm going to dive into this episode.
Well, yeah, I won't go any further into it, but yeah, talking about the heat, the freaking schools in the county got out at 11:30 today,
and I think again tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I'm like, yeah, these are the human beings that'll be our leaders and defenders of our country over the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Well, did you see there's been a funny picture going around? I mean, it's not intended to be funny, but somebody has took a picture of the little like heat gun.
Yeah.
And they're in a school bus because they're claiming that it's because the school buses have no air.
And they sure as hell didn't have air in the late 80s and early 90s when I rode one.
No. Well, they're shooting their thing and it says like 127 degrees. And I did see a guy today, it was funny, he commented back to the person that shared that, and he said, yeah, any vehicle that's been sitting and you get into it this time of year, it's probably around 130 degrees in there. And he said that's why there's a thing called windows that you put down, and then the air flows through. And yeah, I mean...
Neither my farm truck or my Jeep have working air, and the Jeeps... does work.
The Jeep's air don't work?
Well, it's a little vacuum line that's messed up, and so it'll only blow out the defrost vent. I don't know. Which I don't go on long trips in the Jeep, but
yeah,
I go on about the same length of trip that would be from the school to some little kid's house.
Yeah.
I understand it's kind of stop and go when they're on there, but they get going like, yeah, like that's a pathetic excuse.
Well, I didn't realize.
I feel like the schools are just so scared of like getting sued.
I was going to say a lawsuit. Yeah.
Because we got out of school for snow when I was in school.
And it better be like snowing. Like it had to be in the act of snowing.
But winter weather, yes, we got out. You had snow days. My kids now get out early for thunderstorms. Now, full disclosure, we did have 2 schools in the county pretty heavily damaged.
Yeah.
Might even say destroyed by a tornado. But that tornado also hit about 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And they did let them out of school early that day. And I would still argue, I mean, obviously that school got hit, but those schools are as structurally safe as any house. There's plenty of houses destroyed too.
Oh yeah.
That you don't know where it's going to hit. But they get out of school. If there's severe thunderstorms, they let them out now.
Yeah.
Like, of course, we all know about the virus that let them out for months. Now it's too hot. We're going to let them out of school. And you are definitely too young to remember this, but I remember the fake quake of 1990.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I wasn't even alive yet.
So for people my age and older that live kind of in this area, we live on the New Madrid fault line or whatever.
Yeah.
Same fault line earthquake that created Reelfoot Lake, 100 years ago.
Sucked up all the Indians.
But some like geologist or whatever, seismologist, whatever, people who predict earthquakes predicted there was going to be a massive earthquake that year. And so I remember, and I don't know how I remember this, because I would have been in 1990, I would have been like first or second grade.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing better than me on memory like that.
We had to take all this we had to have like a earthquake survival. Remember, like every kid had to have like 2 gallons of like distilled water.
Really?
Like
wow.
certain like on the chance. But it's been since dubbed the fake quake because it never happened. The guy was I don't know if he was just a total quack or if his calculations were off or what.
They do claim if the new Madrid fault ever like hit, we would be goners right here.
Yeah, I know it's like we're on a major fault line, but it's not very active.
No, and see,
we do have an earthquake every now and then, but it's like I will honestly say I've never felt one. And I know some people are like, "Oh, I felt it." I'm like, well,
I'm not that aware, I guess. Well, and I'm sure it's the same with you. When I was a kid in school, and bad weather was coming, you got out in the hallway and you put your head down. We
did those all the time.
Yeah, the tornado drill, man. You get out there and, and you get down on the ground. I don't guess they do those anymore. I don't know.
Hell no, they're at home.
Yeah.
They send them home.
Well, I didn't know. Did you know that TSSAA won't let them practice football if it's a certain temperature?
I think it's been that way for a little while.
It's even when I played up to my sophomore year. After freshman year, that's when I just started helping Dad. And we would practice. It didn't matter. It didn't matter at that point.
I know, and I called this a week ago. I said, I bet they push back the start time for tomorrow night's or by the time this drops, tonight's games.
Yeah.
And I know they have.
Really?
I know they canceled some of like the middle school games and stuff this week, which those aren't as important. I mean, sorry to all the middle schoolers out there.
How dare you?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I know my son, which I mean, against T-ball practice, we canceled it.
Yeah.
Which we were going to have it, and a couple of the parents, like in our little group message, like, it's going to be the hottest part of the day. Like we practiced for an hour.
Yeah.
An hour. Like we actually practiced on Sunday, and it was really hot. And like we literally, like every 10 minutes they took a water break.
Yeah.
Like, these kids are going to be cramping from all the water they've
yeah. Well, but I was telling Marcy when we were talking about them canceling stuff, I said, I remember playing football. We had this thing out there that a water hose screwed into, and it was a long tube, and it had the holes in it.
Yeah, that's what we drank out of it.
Yeah,
too,
and I'm laughing because it was water hose water. And, nowadays people they don't want you practicing football in those temperatures, and they don't want you drinking out of a water hose anymore. And I'm like, well, we practiced in those temperatures, and our water was straight out of a water hose.
Well, and the kids now, and it doesn't matter, public schools or wherever, have to take a water thermos thing to school with them.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was telling somebody else, I'd like to know how much money, my kids are only 5 and 9, that I've spent on water thermoses because of course they lose the top.
Well, my kids have water thing they take, and I just assume Marcy just sent it, so they have to have it.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's a COVID thing, of course, but
yeah,
I'm like, damn, I remember we went to the water fountain.
Yeah.
I mean, and after recess, you went and you stood in line at the water fountain, for 10 minutes because everybody was
I'd have been pissing all day long if I'd had water to drink all day. Yeah, man.
Well, it's somebody was making fun of it, on Instagram not too long ago. These are going to be the most well-hydrated, or this will be the most well-hydrated generation in the history of the world.
I saw that. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's crazy, but, oh, man, yeah, it's, when they got out of school, and it kind of irritated me all over again because when I went, to lunch today, I was behind 3 different school buses. I was like, you freaking, just to me, it's I can't even really hate on the kids because we're doing it to them.
Oh yeah,
we're making them soft.
Yeah.
No, don't. And what's wrong with sweating? It's almost like, my kids get off the bus and they're sweating. Okay, if it was my kid on that bus, I guarantee it's because he was bouncing all over the place and wouldn't sit down and was raising hell.
Well, it's funny. Marcy and I have been back lifting pretty hard finally. We just crossed a 1 month consistent. I told her, I said, right now is the easy time for me. The test for me on remaining consistent will be in about 2 weeks when I'm in a combine all the time. But my plan is to get up because I'm seeing a lot of results, but we were doing one of our ending things was actually dumbbell farmer carry, and it was 4 sets of 20 yards just to finish it out. And I actually measured out because this was yesterday, so it was super hot, and we were lifting at like, I don't know, it was probably, I didn't do much. Yesterday was her birthday, so I hung out with her pretty much all day. It was at one of the peaks of the day. I don't even remember what time. It was hot as hell. And I said, I think I can step out 10 yards in here and we'll go down and back. We don't have to go out, which for total whatever information here, we don't have heat and air in the sunroom either. So it's always hot as crap in there. I just have a box fan blowing hot air. And so you're going to sweat your freaking balls off in there. But I said, I started walking it out, and I told her, I said, nope, dadgummit, we're doing this crap outside. So I opened the door, and as hot as it was in the sunroom, when you walked outside, it was like a slap in the face with, again, that humidity, man, the humidity.
Yeah.
And, but I got out there, and we did our stuff, and I'm sweating, and the sun is bearing down, and I felt like a man. You know, I'm like, this is.
Well, I know people that like, that purposely, you know, their gym or whatever, they want it in their garage.
Yeah.
And like they want it to be like a sauna to an extent. And I agree with that too. Like when I'm like running, like, I'll admit, like, and you do feel good getting in a sweat. Now, I like to run when it's about 45 degrees.
Yeah.
But like when because typically, like if I do and I don't have like a gym at home, but just some kettlebells and stuff, we do it kind of on our back patio that's closed in, but there's no heat and air, just like your sunroom.
Yeah.
But like in the wintertime, I'm like, it's hard for me to get a sweat going, really.
Oh,
like,
I
feel so disappointed when I get done working out. I'm like, I'm just not sweating enough.
Yeah, even the freaking bars are cold in the wintertime.
I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm working out if I don't get a good sweat.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But before we get too deep, we got to give a shout out to our main go-to, our sponsor. That's Ag Zaga.
Yeah. Agzaga.com. Y'all know all about them. We've talked about them, but specifically talk about their 55 and 60 inch perfect fit rake wheels, which actually, if you're a long time listener to the show, you know about those because we featured those as a made in USA product.
Yeah.
Actually, I think hadn't even been that long ago.
No.
So that's even better. I wouldn't have talked about them if I wasn't using them, but I put 2 of those on my rake. But just replacement rake wheels. You got one, if you're like me, they were warped up, had a bunch of broken teeth. There's bolt right on. It took me, 10 minutes, to put 2 on. They've also got the rake teeth. I had to replace a bunch of rake teeth too that I got from them. But for all kinds of parts like that, for whether it's your rake, your tedder, I think they got knives and whatnot for your disc mower.
They got they've got a heck of an array of stuff on there.
What you need to just go to the website, browse around, put some stuff in the shopping cart, type in the discount code, Talk Dirt.
All caps.
And one word. Yep. Yeah, Talk Dirt is 1 word, not 2.
Yeah. We're using Biden math here.
Yeah, Biden math there. 10% off. They got the toys for the kids, all that sort of good stuff too. But go check them out.
Yep. Well, I got a pretty cool one. You alluded to it.
Yeah, the record soybean yield.
Yeah, and I'm
glad you read it because I was going to ask you about it. What kind of? Obviously it was a very small, plot.
Yeah.
And I guess, does it have to be a minimum of 10 acres?
Well, it depends.
Qualify?
Different contests have different stipulations. Okay. But
because that was a
typically
10-acre plot, right?
Yeah, typically they are. But there was a lot of stuff that I read it earlier today, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I liked in that article. And it's funny because
I know probably a few things because the cover crops.
Crops, and one of the big ones that I slightly experimented with this year, and it was funny. I was on the phone call with a guy from Helena today, and we were talking about it. One of the things that I'm going to do, I did a little this year, and I'm going to do more next year. So my standard population. And I'm going to dummy this down even more. When I say population, like on soybeans, when I go in and plant my planter, I set my population. I was planting 140,000 seed per acre.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you that because when those numbers, I know what population means, but I think he had planted 85,000.
88,000.
88.
Was it 88 or 80? It might have been 85.
Or
let me see.
because corn, obviously, you plant a whole lot less than that.
Corn, I'm typically 32,000.
Okay, so, and I guess I've always heard people talk about corn population. So when he said that number, I was like, whoa, that is enormous. But actually, that was not densely populated.
Yeah, no, see, he did do 85,000. He had a final stand of 77,000.
Yeah.
And see, that's what you plant a little higher than what you're aiming for, because you will inevitably, like a lot of times,
100% germination.
no, and I've seen some that had 95% germination on the box. A lot of times they'll tell you they're germ. But he planted 85,000 seeds per acre. And again, I planted 140, and I even planted, I backed down the field I sprayed fungicide on today. I planted it at 110,000. I said, I'm going to tinker with it. And I backed it down to 110. I had to go back and look. I may have even backed it all the way down to 105.
So, and also, was he on 30-inch rows? Is that what it said?
Yeah, he is on 30s. I see that.
So, what do you plan on?
15s.
15's pretty standard around here, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, most guys are doing that. You got some. I've got a buddy that plants his on 38s because he also his stuff is all set up for cotton, and cotton is typically 38-inch rows, and so his corn is on 38s and his beans are on 38s, and but I did recently read, it was Farm Journal or one of them was saying that they did a test and the 15-inch out yielded the 30-inch by four bushels per acre. So there's always that kind of, because at 30s, you're saving money on seed. But and it's pretty interesting. I planted this year, I planted the same bean. He planted Asgrow 48X9s. I planted some of those last year and this year. So I've planted the same bean, and haven't.
You didn't get to 200 bushels.
I didn't quite. I don't know yet. We might see. Maybe
you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Maybe I'll hit 200 bushel.
Yeah, he's the world record
currently
so far.
Yeah, he beat the guy. I think it was Randy Dowdy. Randy Dowdy
blew
is
it out of the water by like 15 bushels an acre. Yeah.
Randy Dowdy is the
this
man.
Was irrigated ground. It was under.
I don't have any irrigated, and I mean, he's standing in it today. Tell you a funny thing. Today I had to meet with some people from the solar panel thing. They texted me or emailed me the other day, said they were coming into town. For people that don't know, I farmed some ground that I'm renting from this solar panel company. And it's a really, man.
I didn't realize you were still getting to farm it this year.
Well, it's not the ground I was.
Oh, okay. It's different.
It's in that same area, and they called me and they said, man, we got one block of ground here that we're not going to be able to do anything with. Do you want to work it this year? And I said, yeah. And so I rent that from them, and it's 120 acres in one block. And
that's pretty good for
here. Man, it is for here. Like there's one stretch, I can't remember now, but it was a lot of acres from one end all the way to the other end was a really long stretch. And I have no clue what them beans are going to look like back in there, because I scout my crops with a drone. Well, this is near an air base, and you can't fly a drone near an air base. My drone will get up, and as soon as it flies up, it'll pop up a little thing, and it'll say, you're entering like a no-fly zone. Do you accept responsibility, risk? And I always say yes, because I'm like, yes, I want to see what.
You're only getting it.
I'm not going up high enough to get in the way. If a jet or something hits my drone, then they're about to crash into the earth anyways.
Yeah.
But I flew it up a little bit, and then it popped up, and it says, automatically return to home in 60 seconds. So I flipped it into sport mode and was trying to fly over there real fast to see them. And I could tell pretty quick it wasn't going to make it. And then it was going to dive down, and I'd have had a hard time finding it. So I had to fly it back. But those beans, see, he's standing in these beans right here, and they're dang near up to his chest. Man, I tell you what, the beans that I looked at out there today with him, they were almost up to my chest. And I got to look, they might, if they're 48X9s, then I got to brag. Let me see here. No, they're 40. Those are Pioneer 47A64s, which are really good. I did not do any of the 48X9s this year. No, I didn't. I did a different 48. Last year I planted some 48X9s, but man, it's no telling what all the protocol is. But one of the other things that I thought was really cool is the dude is 35 years old.
Yeah.
Or actually, was he 35 or 33?
I think it's a 33.
33 years old. That's pretty cool to me because they go in here talking about he's an out-of-the-box thinker. He's, again, implementing cover crops. He goes in, actually burns down at the end of the year, sows his cover crop, and then I didn't make it to see if he is planting into green. I don't think he
strip-tilled.
Okay. But he had a hard rain right after he planted. So, I mean, the conditions got kind of sketchy on him. Ended up with a final stand of 77,000. I had just read, again, I'm always kind of nerding out on this, that some guys were saying the optimal stand is 75,000. See, we've always been told you want about 135,000. You're getting a bunch of plants, you get a long stalk and pods shoot up. Them lower stands, you're getting a bushier plant, and it'll really bush out. Like, I don't know. That's what I'm really going to tinker with this year.
Well, I know I've listened to a few different guys that are kind of those real progressive thinkers, and
like sweet potato,
right? Talk about all the, I mean, your limiting factors, sunlight, water, those things, and why. Like a lot of times, and I think this guy was specifically talking about corn, where, your corn, especially out on the ends, or, especially if you got somewhere where, there's one plant kind of by itself, and it'll just, you're just like, golly, if I could get every plant to do what that one does.
Yeah. It'll be 2 ears. Sometimes you'll have 2 huge ears on one plant.
Exactly. And that's what they're talking about. And so, just trying different ways of really outside the box thinking, like intercropping and doing different things to try to figure out how to maximize.
Well, did I talk about one of the things I'm going to experiment with next year? Next year is going to be a very experimental year for me.
You talked about a few things. I don't know if I've heard about this one yet.
On the corn, I'm going to do twin row skip.
Okay.
Did I mention that?
I don't think so. No.
So I'm not going to do it on all my corn, but I'm going to do a field where and I'm planting on 30s, and I want to be sure. We have some non-farmers that listen. We're talking about row spacing. It's very simple, like 30-inch row. That just means between one center of the row to the next center of the row is 30 inches. When we talk about 15 on soybeans, that's one center to the next.
So I don't know. So twin rows, how far apart will those two rows be?
Well, I got to look into that more, but I'm thinking, I've been thinking I might keep them on 30s, and then I won't have to modify anything. I'd plant 2 rows, skip a row.
30s. And so it'd be, you have a 30-inch row and then a 60-inch row? Or no.
It would be, It would be.
Yeah.
It'd be a 30, a 30, a 60, a 30, a 30, a 60, a 30, a 30.
Okay.
And
so you're just going to skip row.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking. And
just because all that extra sunlight and water.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, everything.
I messed up and I missed. They did a field day. I think Tennessee Tractor did it this year. They did a field day somewhere here in Tennessee, and a guy was doing that. Now, he may have scooted it in. I don't know if he was doing, 20s on his rows, but...
Because then I'm like, well, how do you combine it,
Yeah. It would...
As far as your corn head.
That's what I'm
if you're
thinking.
doing skip rows,
it'll just be it'll be like a couple empty slots on the header. But again, I've got some corn right now. Like, I could take anybody to right now, and we could go to the end of it, and it'll be an ear on there that's like 1.5 feet long, and it's freaking loaded up with corn. See, typically the mindset is you want 1 ear per stalk, and you want it to have about 1 inch of a gap from the top that's not filled out. Because if it's filled all the way out, then it means you didn't have it thick enough. It means you could have had more plants per acre. And some guys, that's what you shoot for, and that's kind of where I'm at. I planted 32 or 34 thousandths. I have to look on my planter, and I've got a gap from the top. And some of the big yielders, I heard a guy say he plants 55,000 seeds per acre, and he's averaging nearly 600 bushel an acre. But man, I don't know. I'm gonna try. I don't know, man. Look, it's fun. It's fun to experiment. I've always been a guy. I don't like to just do what everybody else is doing.
Right. Yeah, I saw an ad. It was an ad, one of the farm magazines, and it kind of the gist of it. So the most expensive words in agriculture or something. Or
That's how we've always done it.
yeah, it was on the front cover of one of the farm journals or whatever, Delta Farm Press or something. But yeah.
Well, hell, actually,
saying we do something one way because we've always done it that way is dumb.
Yeah.
Now sometimes you find out, oh, well, that's why we
There's a
did it
reason
that way. But yeah.
I just realized this. Looking at this article, the guy, I bet you, this dude's name here says his crop consultant, Caleb Trawl. I don't know if it's Trowell or Traw, but he's a big contributor. I'm on the Southern Farming page on Facebook, and he's a really young guy. I think he's younger than me, Caleb Trawl, and I'm pretty sure that man lives and breathes farming. And I see he was that dude's crop consultant.
Yeah.
So he gets into it, but man, that's what me and the dude from Helena were talking about today. We were talking about me planting green. Like that, the field that we were at today, those beans seriously are up to my chest almost. Dude, if people drove by and seen me planting that thing, they'd have been like, look at this jackwagon. When I planted it, there was mare's tail that was probably 3 foot tall. Vegetation was horrible. I was scared. I remember being actually a little bit nervous planting this place. I ran my pneumatic downforce dangerously high on my planter to drive the seed down into the ground, because I got off the planter to check when I first started, and it was a bunch of seed just barely they would be not even half an inch deep. So I cranked up the downforce just to get it in the ground. And man, I jumped in, burned down behind it, sprayed it again, and those beans look awesome.
Yeah.
But that's what the guy, when we were talking about it, he said the same thing. He said, man, I know some people probably think you look crazy, but he said, dude, you got to experiment. And he mentioned the same thing. He said you can't just do this same thing because that's what everybody's always done.
Right. Yep.
So I encourage guys to really experiment and try that. And the corn, that's an easy experiment because I'm not going to have to modify anything on my equipment to harvest it or anything like that. So
good deal. Yeah. I noticed I saw some soybeans yesterday. It looked like they were just about ready, but I looked like they had sprayed them.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, those beans didn't
turn that fast
in a few days, but I've seen no beans even remotely close. And I was like, yeah, it looks like sprayer's been in there.
That paraquat will work its magic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some Sunday, when we were going to church, I told Marcy, I said, those beans turned really fast. And then I looked closer and I could see the sprayer tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
I'll give a shout out to that guy. I have no clue if he listens, whatever, but we'll give him Alex Harrell is the world soybean record holder, 206.79 bushels per acre in Smithsville, Georgia. That's just awesome. That is awesome. So congratulations to that guy for sure. I've got a question for you.
All right.
This comes from Chase Smith. So he said, Bobby Lee, my wife and I just bought a 17.5 acre farm in Somerville, Tennessee. So close to our neck of the woods.
Really close.
I'm planning on raising some cattle while having a couple horses on the property as well. Just need to go ahead and get rid of them horses and you'll already be off to a better track.
Yeah, you'll have already saved a whole lot of money there.
Yeah. After setting aside an acre or so for the house, the remaining will be for the horses and cattle. Having never owned cattle, I wanted to start off with 5 head and potentially get more in the future. With the amount of property we have, how many head could we raise along with the horses? Thanks, Chase.
So
he's working with about 16.5 acres.
So it'll depend on a few things. I mean, is he wanting to do cow calf? have mama cows raise babies. And then it comes down to, well, and most people may think it's being smart ass, but no, it's legit. Like how big a cow's,
Yeah.
because a lot of people advocate, kind of a moderate frame, a smaller cow that, she may be mature at, less than 1,000 pounds even, or right about it. Or do you want one of these big old massive girls that a lot of us fall in love with that are, 12, 13, maybe 1,400 pounds, just huge. I mean, you can't run as big a cow. Now, generally on cow-calf, to be safe, I like to have about 2 acres per pair. Now, again, the horses, I don't know. Kind of same thing, are these going to be, ponies more or less, or really massive, big draft crosses, or just your average horse. I would imagine, because I don't really even think about our horses and how much they eat. We keep our horses up in the barn a lot because we don't want them grazing a bunch because they get too fat. But yeah, about 2 acres for every cow-calf pair is what I like to figure. You can go less than that. Now, if you do that, and I know people who do, and they overstock, and they probably know they're overstocking, and they just feed hay for,
I was going to say, what do they just
6
supplement?
months out of the year. Yeah, whereas I'm trying to feed. I think last year we fed hay for probably not even, might have been right at 3 months,
Yeah.
which was the best I've ever done. But yeah, if you're willing to supplement them with a good bit more feed, whether it be just feeding hay for the entire winter and maybe even early in the fall, that kind of thing. Having it cross fence where you can, especially for the winter, can kind of keep them in a little smaller area where you can let your grass kind of get ahead of you, or ahead of them, for the spring.
Yeah.
Helps. So a lot of other factors in play. Now, if you're wanting to just say, hey, we're just going to background some calves, and you're buying 500-600 pound calves, you can probably run 1 per acre, on that. That's about the number we like to use. I would start out low, and see how many, if you get through 1 year, your first year, and you're like, man, we could have run, 50% more, well, then go for it. I will also caution you, though, to obviously, which again, he's just down the road from us, so he's had plenty of rainfall this year.
Yeah.
I was talking to actually just one of our neighbors here the other day, and I asked him, I said, how's your grass? He said, man, I got grass for days. He said, we were joking, he's like, I could afford to have a lot more cows. And he's like, wait a second. He said, the grass could afford to have more. I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, you can't afford to be buying any right now because they're sky high.
Yeah.
But but you also don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. No, I run about 40 mama cows there at my house, and I'm trying to even think how much pasture do we have there. I probably have 75, 80 acres of pasture, counting what I lease from my neighbors too. And yeah, this year I could have probably run 50 mamas.
Yeah.
But I know good and well not every year will be this wet. Last year we just about ran out of grass, and would have if we hadn't sold our stocker steers early, and then we're able to move some cows to that farm. So you start on the safe side of things. It's like you're talking last week in your booking grain. Be conservative at first. Don't overdo it and try to put 1 pair per acre, then get into a dry year, and then you just got to wreck because you're either having to sell cows or you're spending a fortune on hay. I'd say that 1.5 to 2 acres per pair is pretty good. Until are you going to spend a bunch of money fertilizing? If you do that, yeah, you can probably stock them a little denser. I do fertilize pasture. I don't fertilize it as aggressively as I could. But a lot of that depends on, like this year, we've got plenty of grass anyway. So that's a good question, but of course there's a lot of
variables in there.
Yeah, a lot of variables in answering it.
Yeah. Well, Chase, we appreciate your question, man. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
If you're looking for some cows, some bred heifers, I know a guy that'll have some here in a few months for sale. But
I found a guy that's got some Wagyu for sale. Did I tell you?
Oh yeah, because we had that conversation a couple weeks ago. I kind of got curious. Oh yeah, you can find them for sale, cows and
There's
bulls.
a pretty good operator in Jackson.
Jackson, Tennessee.
Yeah, I've reached out to him. He sent me his number, and I haven't opened it yet, but I believe he sent me some photos of some that he's got for sale right now. But I haven't looked. Which I was telling my wife. I said, "Yeah, I think I found some Wagyu." She said, "Where are you going to put Wagyu?" And some Wagyu cows. And I said, "Over there at the store." She said, "You don't even have a place yet." And I said, "Well, I'll fence off an area." And she said, "Would you let us get one thing going before you start diving into something else?" I said, "I'll wait a little while. I'll give you a little time."
Man, I was kind of playing around one day, and man, yeah, it's just the entry cost on those things, like,
whew, man, a heifer was like $8,000.
oh man,
It was wild.
I'd put a pencil to it, but it will take I don't know. I mean, you're definitely having to sell the beef direct.
Yes.
And that's the only way to even have a prayer. And you may need to, be selling like individual cuts. And I mean, even then, I'm like, man, golly,
and they're slow
how many
growers.
calves she'll have to have, and then you feed them out all the way to finish before you start breaking even.
This is wild though. Like I got to looking, the guys that sell online. So check this thing out. This is a whole.
Yeah,
look at that solid fat, $999. This has got to be an actual Japanese Wagyu. It's a Hokkaido Wagyu A5. So A5 means that
A5, I think, is their highest level.
Okay.
It's I think that's a system they use just in the Wagyu.
Well, I don't know if I can show this where y'all can see it, but this is the most marbling. I mean, there's more fat than it is actually. I'm gonna try to zoom in on this camera.
It looks like it, man. I'd be interested in trying it. And
I would too.
I ain't gonna pay $1,000 for a steak.
Yeah, there we go. I think y'all might.
Certainly not a steak I got to cook myself.
Look at that. Look at the fat in that steak. Man, look at that. That camera will really zoom in. I think I've even got a little more zoom left if I wanted to get crazy. Y'all see all the marbling? That's seriously the most marbling I've ever seen, and that is a whole boneless strip loin for $999.
Oh, that's the whole loin. Okay, I mean, hell, it better be.
Oh yeah, if that was one steak or something, I'd be like,
$1,000. Well, but I mean, some of that stuff, and it's like, is anybody actually really paying for this?
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe like Leonardo DiCaprio might be ordering that.
Yeah, but I mean, I just like some of that stuff. I'm like, you almost get too nichey with it. Like, it's like, okay, like, you might one time have sold one of those strip loins for $1,000, but I mean, how often do you have? Are you filling orders for that? I don't know. I don't mean to sound like a hater.
I guess though, if you could sell, if you had those kind of cuts and you could sell 6 of them a month, that right there'd be $6,000 you'd be pulling.
Yeah, but man,
I know you got a lot in there.
You have to even have that, because I mean that's a whole loin.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I watched a video of that one Japanese dude in there, and he said that he had one cut he sold for $30,000.
Yeah, so, and some of that's like, I don't know if that's real money,
Yeah,
like there's something funny going on there.
But he even said his is not. It's like you don't eat his, like, you don't sit down and get a full steak of it and eat it. I think because it's so rich and fat, it's something you like kind of eat a little bit.
Well, one thing I found kind of interesting on some of those, and some of it I've been playing around looking at the like the Wagyu, or the they like to call it like the Wagyu of pork, those Iberian hogs. Yeah. Like a lot of places, because on the pork especially, I was like, I'd be willing to like just order a few chops just to try it out.
Yeah. Does it have a lot of fat on it?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like they're supposed to be. I mean, they're a heritage breed, whatever.
I'm typically not a big fan of the fat on like my pork chops.
Man, I like it. I like the fats where my flavor is, but but anyway, you see there's a lot of ground product available, which I know they probably have a little more trouble moving that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, they're always trying to push the ground, or like the Wagyu burgers. I'm sure a Wagyu burger is great.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know that the Wagyu's not going to be that much differentiated. At least this is my opinion, from just a really good quality
burger.
Yeah, just high end ground meat from a certified Angus or whatever. Just conventional beef. You know, there's not going to be a night and day difference like there may be when you're talking about a ribeye, or a strip or whatever out of that's one of those versus just a prime steak.
I would be curious because see, I ate a Wagyu burger in Vegas.
Yeah,
and it was really good, but I don't know that it would have been. It wasn't life changing. Whereas I've heard one guy that is in Australia that raises Wagyu. He got into it because he ate a steak, and he said he said some people remember where they were when September 11th happened. He said, I remember where I was when I had my first bite of Wagyu steak. So,
and it may be so, but I don't know. I'm a beef guy. You can't have a good burger without having good beef.
Yeah.
But a lot of a good burger is in everything else, because my burger is dressed up,
See, I like really to season mine, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The seasoning, the bread, good, quality.
Bobby Lee makes his own bread.
Well, I'm kind of a snob when it comes. And I ate plenty of burgers that are just with the regular,
white piece of bread.
Yeah. Well, we do that too whenever we're out of buns, but just the basic family pack of buns you get at the store. But I also like to sometimes go over there to the bakery section of the deli and see if they've got any, specialty, buns or rolls or anything and then the cheese, love our dairy folks out there.
Yeah.
Fancy cheeses and whatnot. And I like to buy the good pickle. I
love some good pickles, man. Yeah.
But,
are you a white bread or a wheat bread kind of guy?
So
for just a good sandwich,
my family, typically what my wife buys is the honey wheat. That's what there's a loaf of in our pantry right now, probably 2 loaves.
If you could go just pick for yourself
one type of sliced bread for the rest of my life.
You better choose the right answer. There's only one right answer here.
Man, I'm not I just talked about how important the bun was to me. I'm going to contradict myself.
Don't downplay it. Which one are you picking?
I think I could live with either. I'd probably lean towards white if
there
I could
you
only
go.
have one forever.
There you go.
But if you tell me nope, you got to have wheat, I'd say okay, not a big deal.
I can eat wheat because that's how Marcy buys wheat and white, because I don't like wheat bread very much. I'll eat it if that's all we got. If I'm out.
I don't know that for just sandwich bread, I don't know that I.
Oh man,
I appreciate a huge difference.
You could blindfold me and put that, and I could take one bite and start chewing and be like, "This wheat bread. Where's the good bread?" I like white bread.
I like fried bologna sandwich, and I make a lot of breakfast, toaster sandwiches.
Yeah.
But for that sort of stuff, I'm like, I don't know that. I'll go either way.
See, she'll even cook us some hot ham and cheeses. I want freaking white bread.
Yeah.
Now I ate a wheat waffle this morning. That was interesting. She bought some of those Kodiak cakes.
Oh,
just trying to change up breakfast a little bit when we're in a hurry, getting the kids ready, and they have the protein, 12 grams of protein in them. And it's not bad. It's got a lot less sugar than an Eggo waffle.
Yeah.
It's not bad, especially you're in a bind, you hurry up. You just can't look at it. You can't think of it as a standard waffle. You got to go into it being okay, this is a somewhat healthy version of a waffle.
I probably mentioned it on here before, but when I'm doing keto, or when I have done keto in the past, what do they call them? Chaffles.
Oh yeah.
It's basically just egg, but you put it in a waffle maker, and I think you can add a little cheese to it. I even found one recipe. You took pork rinds and kind of ground them up, make almost like a flour out of them. Put those in it, whatever. It just and it doesn't really like it has a little bit more of a waffle or bread consistency than just because you think it'd just be like rubbery, like eggs,
and it's not.
No, and like because that my biggest struggle with keto is, I like eating burgers. Like I just talked about how I like a really good bun.
Yeah,
but it actually, in terms of getting you by, and then you got a quote unquote bun that's nothing but protein and no carb, like 0 carb. I guess you put the cheese in there, you maybe got just a little carb.
Yeah,
but I'm like I could get by with this.
See, I'm not a big egg guy. I hard boiled some the other day. Just again with us working out, I'm trying to eat more eggs because they're like the anabolic food. But man, I don't like them a lot.
Like I'm bad about. I didn't eat breakfast this morning, so I went to our damn snack machine at the office. Because you got
some eggs in there.
Yeah, I ate some cheddar cheese bugles. I'm like,
what a close second.
This is really healthy. It's either that or probably 2 or 3 times a week we'll have a couple dozen donuts in there. So,
oh man, I won't pass up no donuts now.
It's just a question of how many am I going to eat. And of course I would do it when I was doing keto, but I try to get into it like just keeping some boiled eggs over there, like in the fridge, man. And they're pretty dang filling. And I actually like a boiled egg. I think tastes pretty good.
I like boiled eggs. That is one way. That's why. And I like an egg over easy. I hate scrambled eggs.
See, I like them over easy. I like them scrambled.
If I scramble them, then I'm also adding cheese and I'm adding salsa and I'm adding bacon.
Well, I add cheese and milk, which I saw some people, it must have come up like online somewhere. People were like asking, they're talking about they put sour cream in their scrambled eggs. I'm like, okay, they're like, I'll try that. Like before they, like as they're scrambling them up, but we got way off on topic there. Which while we're talking eggs, you ever get the pickled quail eggs?
No,
they have those at Nafy's.
No, I've never. I've eaten pickled eggs maybe 2 times in my life.
They have pickled quail eggs.
Are they good?
They're pretty good.
Are they about that big?
Yeah, they're probably not even that big. They're small. They've got the regular and they got the spicy. Good Lord, those spicy ones. If you want some indigestion,
okay, I'll avoid those.
Oh no, they'll light you up going down and coming out.
Oh right, like crapping razor blades
and all the way in between. They're good, but like I got a jar of them in my fridge. I'm like, I just can't eat them. Like I know good and well, like it's gonna hurt.
Give them to Willis.
He'll eat, but the spicy. I mean, they're spicy.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
No, I hadn't. I have not tried pickled eggs in a long time.
I was gonna ask. So are you the guy like at Thanksgiving that like you just wipe out the deviled eggs?
I do enjoy some deviled eggs, man. I can tear them up. Yeah, I like them. Well, that's when I hard boiled them because I was about to Rocky it and just put them in a glass and drink them.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm like, I don't necessarily care to eat them.
I do worry a little bit about foodborne illnesses.
Well, that's why. Which I mean, ours are straight out of. They ought to be as straight off the farm as you can get.
Yeah.
But I did it one time. Actually, as a matter of fact, I did it one time when I was living at my parents' house. I went through a little phase where I was drinking raw eggs. Pretty sure your mom was over there and she like gagged. She watched me drink some raw eggs. And I think I even told her, I was like, it's just like swallowing a big loogie. And she was like disgusted at the thought. But
is it that different than just like a raw oyster?
No, not really. It's just if it was a lot juicier.
Yeah.
I mean, I drank like 4 at a time, and I think like it was like a ball of them kind of wad up in your throat, and you got to gulp them down.
Yeah.
But no, I'm the same way. I got to thinking, I can hard boil these, and I'm not going to risk getting anything. I don't want to have diarrhea and be barfing because I was like hell bent on drinking raw eggs. And so I hard boiled them, and I like them because they keep several days. I would just get 2 every morning. I'd just get 2 of them. I'd usually eat some oatmeal and two eggs.
Well, they're a good snack to have with you.
They are.
You can just eat them anytime, and
and they are they're filling. Like I would eat a bowl of oatmeal and 2 hard boiled eggs, and I'd be pretty well set.
Yeah.
If I eat a bowl of oatmeal with nothing else, I am starving by about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It makes me hungrier. But yeah, I'm trying to think. We're probably, I'm gonna figure I'm still about 2 weeks out.
Oh, and selling corn.
Yep. I actually ran the tedder yesterday.
I noticed when I came home, where all y'all bail today?
I don't know where. Well, they had some. They finished the Rose Farm and then over behind the shop.
Well, that's what I saw behind the shop. Looks like it had pretty good many rolls. It must have been pretty good hay.
It looked pretty thick. I didn't tedder that. They had teddered the first half of the Rose Farm, and then I teddered the other half yesterday. Man, it's funny. I hadn't teddered in.
Teddering's so easy. I mean, it's an easy, relaxing job.
Yeah, it is, and like that's what Dad had asked me. He said they needed a hand, and I don't do much hayfield anymore. I'm usually in the row crop side, and he said we need somebody to run the tedder. He said, would you run the tedder? And I said, yeah, I can run the tedder. I said, that'd be fine. So I got out there, and Marcy and I went and ate lunch, and then after we got done eating lunch, I said, take me over here to the tedder. I got on it and finished that half, and yeah, and then teddering is anybody can tedder.
Yeah.
But it was kind of took me back because, man, it's been years since I did that. And, I mean, that was our dad's really before the row crop and hay and cattle.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I mentioned we had a guest write in or a listener write in and say that leave us an awesome review.
They might be a guest one day.
You might be. And people wondering, we're going to do the giveaway, and I've got it pretty well figured out through this website that we're going to be able to host it through. So we got that figured out. So just continue to listen, and we'll announce when that's going to begin. I figure we'll do a several week run, so it gives everybody plenty of time to enter.
Chance to actually enter.
But one guy wrote in and said that we need to have our dads on the show. I mentioned something to your dad. Did he say anything to you about it?
No.
He did not seem very thrilled with the idea. I think you're going to have your work cut out for you. It was me and him and Brock, and we were just out here the other day talking. I think my parents were still out of town.
I don't think I've mentioned anything to him about it. Maybe I did.
Well, I told him, I said, yeah, we were talking. Brock, I think, asked, and I said, oh, speaking of, we had somebody say we need to have you and Dad on the show, and he was like, yeah, I don't know about that. And that was about the extent of that conversation.
Oh, that's exactly what I would expect him to say. But that's not a hard no.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to sip bourbon. I
think once you got him,
go a little earlier one evening than 9 o'clock, our typical.
Well, hell, he's a night owl.
Yeah, I think we keep working on him. We could get him in.
Yeah, eventually. I think Dad, I could get him pretty easy.
My kids want to do it. I'm like, y'all.
Levi has asked when he's coming back on.
You've had him on Living Fully Loaded.
Yeah.
They're like, are you going to do a podcast tonight? Like, they always ask me that. I'm like, yeah. Of course, they're in bed by the time I leave. And they're like, I want to go one time. I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah.
We'll have to we need to do an episode where we have Willis and Levi on, and then we can do one where we have the girls on.
Yeah, we can do that. And,
that'd be fun.
Even if they couldn't sit still for the whole hour, can
have
them, and we can hit pause.
Yep.
And
kick them out of here.
And then finish up. So,
tell them get the hell out of here. And then
there's ways around that.
Yeah. Well, we do appreciate everybody writing in on the reviews. We are up to 130 last time I looked, and it's August 24th. I'm going to tell you guys got your work cut out for you if y'all are going to get us to 200 by September 30th.
I think it's still a lofty goal, but that's why goals, you don't want to set a goal that's just easy.
That's true. If you want Bobby Lee to have a skullet, I sent him a skullet meme this week, I think.
Yeah.
And see, he's already working on it, so you can't let this man down.
My hair, it's getting long enough that I'm kind of at that weird point, anybody that's ever shaved their head, where your hair starts growing out. It's like, it's longer than just being a buzz, but it's also like too short to like brush anywhere.
Yeah.
But like when I'm in the shower and it's wet, like I can really kind of slick it over. I'm like, this is the beginnings of a comb over. And oh man, it looks so awful.
Well, you got to keep it going there. See, guys, you got to get us.
Well, I'm afraid because I feel like once I get it to a full skullet, people are gonna know like that's pretty awesome. Like,
yeah, man.
I feel like how you look at that, you're like, because at that point, like, but I'm gonna have to go through that weird phase.
People are gonna be like, "What is this guy doing?"
This guy, he's just holding on to it too hard. Because you see those guys all the time, like, man, you know that they're fighting.
Give it up.
Yeah, they're fighting. You know, going bald. Like, no. I'm totally fine with being bald. I've been slick shaved for several years, but yeah, I'm gonna go through that weird stage where, especially people that don't know me, see me out in public, be like, man, bro, you just need to let it go. Like, no, you don't understand. I'm growing it out to the skullet.
Yeah, there's no reason for this. Well, that's what. That's why I used to buzz my head a good bit, and I still occasionally miss. Man, a few times I've really skinned it down, and I still would think, man, it would be so convenient to not have so much hair on my head, But the worst part is for me, I go through a phase where it almost is like an afro. Like,
because it's still short enough you can't really
move it around. Yeah.
It won't like brush over. It just, yeah.
Yep. That stage is basically why I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't know that
you just need to keep buzzing it, or you got to go through a week or two there where it's just at an awkward length.
Yeah, and I'm not a good one to hold a style. Like, I might have long hair. It's why I have a mustache one week and a beard and everything else.
Yeah.
But we got to get there. And I bring this up because I was showing Bobby Lee before we started recording. I said we're at 130 ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. And I know some of you guys are like, this guy bitching about these rating and reviews, but I'm going to tell you why. I can look at the app and it shows me how many people listen specifically. This is why I'm harping on Apple Podcasts. I'm actually going to commend our Spotify listeners. We have a lot of good ratings on Spotify, and we don't have as strong of a presence on Spotify as we do on Apple Podcasts, but I will say maybe not the majority, but at least a larger percentage of listeners on Spotify have left a rating.
Yeah.
Now, when we get to Apple Podcasts, y'all are slacking. Y'all are really slacking. Way more people listen than are rating.
That's the same frustrating thing. Well, and for our YouTube people, same thing. And you can't leave a review, but the thumbs up, just like boop. The percentage. I'm looking at my last, and this is my Hurricane Creek. Roughly 1 in 10 people hit the thumbs up button.
Yeah,
which may be a bunch of 9 out of 10 people hate the video. But I'm like, come on, give me a split second of your, it doesn't even take a split second to hit the thumbs up.
Yep.
Just hit it.
Yeah.
It helps us out.
It does.
The same thing with the review. The review doesn't take much longer. Scroll down, click 5 stars, type a few words.
I told Bobby Lee earlier, I said, if everybody that was listening on an Apple podcast would take freaking 10 seconds, go down, leave us 5 stars. Look, you don't even have to write a review. We really appreciate when somebody takes time to write a review. That's awesome. But if you're like, look, man, just if it'll shut you guys up, I'll go down here and I'll just click the 5 stars. If everybody that listens on Apple Podcasts would do that today, then our show, I would almost bet money, it would be on the home page of Apple Podcasts. And, we're not doing this to try to blow up our names as much as when the show grows, it gives us the exposure we've talked about, because again, we each have our axis to grind. If we want to challenge kind of this, hell, if we want to go up to bat, Joe Rogan could rattle the cage. I'm not saying he could initiate change, but he could bring awareness to the meat packer situation. He has enough of a presence that he could, if he would talk about this stuff, do an episode on that, people would be like, dang, I didn't realize that 4 meat packers are dominating the industry. Most people wouldn't know. If you grow a show really big, and I'm not saying that we got to be Joe Rogan level. I'm not saying that wouldn't be cool to get there, but
if Spotify wanted to sign us to $100 million contract,
we'd have to think about it.
We need the lawyers to look it over.
Yeah.
I don't know. it'd be hard for me to quit my day job.
Yeah. I don't know if I could make it on that kind of money. But
Well, that's before taxes.
that's true. That is true. We got to pay those. But we say that to say we want to get that exposure, so we want to rattle the cages. Hell, that's kind of what we're here for, is to be I wasn't a Dale Earnhardt Sr. fan. You were. He liked to rattle the cages, man, and we want to be the intimidators for the ag side, for the guys that are kind of the young farmers trying to get in there. That's what we're here for. So, guys, leave us a damn review.
We're like Obama. We're hope and change.
Oh, that's a frightening comparison.
Hope and change. I have never had fantasies. What was the thing that came out, like the love letter he wrote his college girlfriend about how he fantasized about having sex with men?
No, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah,
is that why they all say he's gay?
Well, and of course,
yeah, I hear
the pretty wild conspiracies about Michelle is really Michael.
Yeah,
and I've always rolled my eyes. I was like, come on, that's ridiculous. And then no, it was a legit, nobody's denying it. It was a letter. I don't know if you call it a love letter, but he wrote one of his girlfriends. I don't know if it was in high school or college or what. That he I don't remember if he said he has dreams or he fantasizes. Never said he had relations with another man. But
yeah,
said basically that he fantasized about it.
Well, that's pretty gay.
Yeah, it's well. I saw it. If you can see some people some other kind of I don't know, podcast talking head type people come out and be like, oh, that's not that. And I was like, whoa. Trying no. I can speak, and I'm very comfortable in my sexuality. I've never, yeah. As a married man, I won't say about women and all, but yeah. I mean, but yeah, never any kind of fantasy involving another individual of my same sex.
Yeah.
Ever. Honest to God, hand on the Bible, God, just it has zero appeal. But anyway, yeah, we got way off subject.
Well, that's news to me, man. I did not know that about Obama.
We're like Obama, and we're hoping for some change.
There you go. Yes.
Wasn't that his slogan or whatever?
Something.
Hope and change or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Lord.
Did you, before we close out, did you see what's his dude's name? Vivek
Ramaswamy or whatever?
Yeah.
Man,
I don't trust that guy.
Paid very little. A lot of what I saw from him sounded really good, actually. I'm like,
that's why I don't trust the guy.
He sounds too good.
There was a side-by-side of Obama actually talking, and then this Vivek, and they were saying the same thing.
Oh, wow. Well, one of the things, I think somebody attacked him on, I think it was Christie, was that he sounded like Obama.
Yeah.
But then he had a pretty good comeback to that. He said, called out Christie for whenever it was after one of the hurricanes, whatever, it hit up there, and he was hugging Obama, and you helped get
Christie
him reelected.
needs to just go back into the drain. That guy don't have a chance in the world.
Some of them, it's really right now, none of them do. If you look at the polls, that's why I've heard some people say it was smart of Trump not to be there. Why would Trump show up and just let them attack him?
Yeah.
That's all it's going to be about, because every one of them is.
That's even what he said.
What's Trump's at
Oh, he's killing them in the polls.
He has 3 or 4 times as many, percentage points as the next closest ones. So
he's
plus
gonna.
There's what was there, 7 of them there last night?
Yeah.
So if you count Trump, that's 8. You get it down to 2 or 3 plus Trump. Then you might see him say, "All right, I'll get on the stage with them." But there's no sense in him just standing there for them to hurl insults at him for 2 hours.
It's going to be Trump. Trump's going to be the nominee.
Well, I think short of. Yeah, something.
I think even if he goes to jail by some crazy chance, I still think that he's going to be the guy.
I think short of them doing something that would disqualify him completely, or finding something you already saw his mugshot from Fulton County yesterday. People are T-shirts are being made. It's making him. I mean, he's
stronger.
Teflon Don. The more they attack him, the stronger he gets. So,
yep.
I don't know. The next year and a half may be pretty wild.
Yeah, I
hell,
think
we're not
so.
even a year and a half. We're just about 14 months or so from election.
Yeah.
15 months. Maybe.
During the lockdown's going to be coming.
Oh man.
Yep. You got on your shirt from the What's his name? Josh.
No. It's Ian Smith.
Ian Smith. I was thinking Josh Smith. Yeah, Ian Smith.
Beware of the alpha variant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, do not comply. That's our slogan.
I was talking to somebody about it. I mean, yeah, I guess they could shut anything government operated might, but like I don't think in like rural small town America, like
I don't think it'll happen
Jason
again.
Aldean, try that in a small town. Like yeah, try the lockdowns again. You're gonna get laughed at. Like I mean, even if there was like mandated or whatever, like I mean, knowing some of our local law enforcement and even our law enforcement leaders, I don't think that you would get any cooperation from them on it. Like it. Like,
have you ever heard of 4patriot.com? Like number 4 Patriot?
No.
I just actually ordered yesterday from them. They make basically MREs. That might sound like a doomsday prepper here, but I'm in a group on Instagram with a bunch of dudes, and we were all kind of talking.
Dude, you're a farmer. You don't need to have MREs. Like,
no, you
got the food.
Well, I do, but actually, that's going to be one of the tiring parts. Dad and I talked about it. We were like, man, somebody's going to have to stay up around the clock watching the herd of cattle. Oh, well, if something goes
that's
crazy.
That's where people are like, and back during COVID, you're like, oh, you dumb effers, like posting pictures and videos of your freezer full of food.
Yeah.
Your pantry full of toilet paper. You are putting
we know where we're going.
On your back if the shit really hit the fan.
Yeah.
Well, that's why people point out like, all right, that's great. You got all that. How are you going to defend it?
Yeah.
But I feel like at least
I got a pretty good defense as well.
Yeah. You're at least on your way.
Yeah. I did the 4 Patriot. They got I ordered a month's supply, and they last 25 years.
Come in 5-gallon buckets.
Yep. And they got a crazy amount. They got you can order a 3-day, 1 week. I ordered a month. They have a 3-month, and they have a full year. Full year is a shitload.
Putting your fallout shelter.
Yeah. But again, I was like, you know what? It'll last 25 years.
What? But I think about that. I'm like, all right, if it comes down to all right, my family's going to starve. I'm pretty dang confident I can go out and, even say my herd gets stolen from me, whatever, I can shoot enough squirrels to eat on a day-to-day basis. Now, eventually you might run out of ammo.
But see, I'm going complete apocalyptic scenario in my head. I'm like, okay, let's say that let's even bypass this COVID thing, and maybe things get so crazy, the election happens, something just wild happens, we get bombed tonight, and it's just a disaster zone here. All the cows are dead, the ground is scorched earth, and we've got it. So that's where I'm like,
where are you going to store the food?
That's what I don't know. I've been thinking in my head. I'm like, man, I ought to go dig. I need to dig me.
We're going to put a
fallout shelter in.
A boxcar on the ground or something.
Yes. Need to bury a school bus.
Yeah. Yeah, well, damn
be
things
too
don't
hot.
have air conditioner, Logan. Yeah. How would you survive?
Yep. Damn.
Right.
You got us?
Well, let's cue him up.
We start off with 2 words. Made in America.
All right, so I'm picking out the company.
Yeah.
Which we mentioned our friends at Ag Zaga earlier.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the rake wheels before. They've been a product in the past, so we'll go with something different today. But yeah, remember, go check them out if you do need to upgrade your rake, or maybe you just need some bell wrap or whatever. Go check them out. They've got apparel too. Just
they got
about
hitch
anything
pins.
you think of. We can't list you all the things they've got. You just need to go check it out.
Yeah.
But talking about our product for this week. I feel like, what do you think's the one type of product we've gone to more than anything else on this list?
It ain't socks, is it?
No, I can think of a couple of sock companies, but
I don't know. That's now you got my brain running. What is it?
I would say it's probably knives.
Well, okay, yeah,
I bet I could go back and look at our
that's
list. I bet
true.
we've got,
There's 2 right here that we've mentioned on the show.
I bet we're getting close to 10 different knife companies.
Yeah.
But I'm going to add another one.
Uh-oh.
My dad for Christmas gave me this one, so I've been sitting on this one for a while. But for just a night like tonight, where we didn't have another specific one, but White River Knife and Tool, they are made in the USA. He gave my brother and I a fixed blade knife. But yeah, check them out. I'm not sure where he bought it from, but they are made in the USA. White River Knife
Knife.
and Tool.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, y'all go check out agzaga.com, of course. Discount code Talk Dirt.
All one word, all caps.
Yep, they're good folks. For some reason, the discount code isn't working for you, whatever, just message them or message one of us.
Yeah.
Maybe you can't spell. Whatever.
You got dirt in your eyes. You can't quite see what you're doing there.
It's like, when you're embarrassed, you're having a problem with your computer and you call like the support. They're like, is it plugged in? And you're like, son of a bitch. You just hang up.
You ever listen to Nate Bargatze?
I have.
Did you ever hear his spiel about when he slept all night in the hotel room with the lights on because he never could find the switch, turn them off? And he said, I just couldn't call and be like, I don't know how to turn the lights off. So he said, I just slept with the lights on because he said if I had called, they're like, well, yeah, their switch is right there. And he'd say, I'd be like, well, of course it is. I was just seeing if y'all knew.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he said, I literally slept all night with the lights on. He said, I even looked in the hallway. He was like, maybe they're out here in the hallway. And he said,
and he
never
figured it out?
No, he never figured it out. He said, I didn't figure it out. And I think he even might have said maybe the next morning he thought about kind of being like, that's a interesting light switch you got in there. Just try to see if they'd be like, but I can't remember if he did. But
that's wild.
Yeah, slept all night with the lights on.
To ask.
Yep. So, guys, leave us a rating and a review. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe if you're watching. Share this with your friends, and submit your questions. We really enjoy the questions.
We do
a lot, and it gives us easy content for us too.
Oh, yeah.
You get questions, and we'll go as deep as you want. And I've said before, there's no topic off subject, and you're not going to sound like a dummy. Like, if you're not a farmer and you're listening and there's just something you've wondered.
We got off on deviled eggs and Barack Obama's love letters.
Yeah. I mean, nothing is off the table on this show. So
ranted about soft kids can't ride a hot school bus.
Yeah.
We'll go most places.
Yeah. There's nothing off limits. So, guys, write in. We appreciate you. Have a good one.
Yep. Talk to y'all next week.